Hello and welcome. Today we're jumping into a truly epic story of salvation. It's a tale that kicks off with a massive cosmic crisis. I'm talking about the entire world literally sinking into an abyss, and it ends up revealing this profound, deep connection between a god's sacred duty and, well, our own.
So just try to wrap your head around this. The world as we know it is just gone. The demon, Hiranyaksha, has dragged it down into the great cosmic ocean, and it has vanished completely. Now, this leaves us with a huge question, right? When the world itself is lost, who could possibly bring it back? And how? Okay, let's really set the stage for this cataclysm. The Earth wasn't just in a little bit of trouble, it was completely underwater, lost in the primordial soup of the netherworld, an abyss they call Rasatala.
You know, the scale of this disaster is really hard to even imagine. The Puranas describe a world that's plunged into total darkness, completely invisible to every living being. It's a state of absolute chaos, where the very foundation of our existence has been swallowed by the void. That's a terrifying thought, isn't it? I mean, when the ground beneath your feet is just gone, what is even left? This was the hopeless situation, and a situation this desperate called for an equally monumental response. It needed a true divine intervention.
And so, that response came. And it came in one of the most powerful forms you can possibly imagine, the Varaha avatar of Lord Vishnu. With these words, the Brahmanda Purana introduces our savior. Hari, that's another name for Vishnu, assumes a form that is atulam, which means incomparable, immeasurable. This wasn't just any old shape. It was a form perfectly designed for a cosmic rescue mission of this magnitude. And this form, wow, it was a spectacle of pure, raw power. He's described as a colossal boar, literally the size of a great mountain. His radiance was as bright as lightning, and his power was as mighty as the sun itself. This was no subtle intervention. This was a show of immense, world-saving strength. So the action itself was just decisive. With a mighty roar, the Varaha avatar plunged deep into that cosmic ocean, found the lost Earth, and listed it right back into its orbit on his incredible tusks. He performed his divine Dharma, his sacred duty, and in doing so, he restored order to the entire universe. This is such a great question, and really, it's the pivot for our whole story today. The divine rescue is an incredible story, for sure. But does that mean we're supposed to just sit around and wait for gods to solve all our problems? Or do we have a role to play? To answer that, we're going to turn from the divine to the human. Let's take a look at the story of a mortal ruler, King Prithvi, who also found himself responsible for saving his world. Now, in Prithu's time, the crisis wasn't some cosmic flood. It was something just as devastating, though. The earth had become barren. It just refused to yield crops. Agriculture stopped, and his people were starving to death. The world was dying, just in a different way. I mean, just look at this transformation. Before Prithvi stepped in, the world was on the brink of total collapse. But through his righteous actions, he brought everything back into balance. He established cities, he developed agriculture and commerce, and he created a world where every single creature could be nourished. He didn't just save his people, he made the world thrive again. And here is the absolute key to it all. Prithvi succeeded because he performed his Dharma. He approached the earth not as something to be exploited for its resources, but as a living being that needed to be cared for. He acted as her guardian, fulfilling his duty as a king to protect and nourish his kingdom and his people. So what we have here are two saviors. One is divine, the other is human. But both of them saved the world simply by performing their duty. And this brings us right to the philosophical heart of the matter, which is laid out so beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita. The Gita makes a really profound point here. It says that action, well, it's not a choice. We are all helplessly driven to action by our very nature. None of us, not one, can remain completely inactive even for a single moment. This is such a critical insight, right? If we're all constantly acting anyway, then the most important question in life becomes, what is the quality of our actions? What's the intention behind them? Are our actions self-serving, or do they uphold something greater than ourselves? And here, the Gita gives us the answer. The path to the highest state of being is through doing your duty without attachment. What does that mean? It means acting not for the rewards, not for the praise, but acting simply because it is the right thing to do. It's action for the sake of duty itself.
This principle has a name, nishkama karma, selfless action, and this is the common thread that connects our two stories. Lord Varaha saved the earth not for glory, but because it was his cosmic function. King Prithvi restored prosperity not for power, but because it was his kingly duty. They both embodied nishkama karma.
So, let's bring this home. What does all this ancient wisdom mean for us, right here, right now? How does the essence of our actions, our karma, shape the world we live in today? This verse from the Gita is so powerful. It basically says that whatever standard a great person sets, the rest of the world will follow. Our actions don't just happen in a vacuum, you know? They create ripples. They establish the norms and the values of our entire society.
And that, right there, is the ultimate takeaway. Every single time we perform our duties selflessly, whether that duty is being a parent, a student, an artist, or a leader, we are actively participating in the act of upholding the world. Our small, righteous actions are the very threads that hold the fabric of society together, just as surely as Varaha's tusks once held the entire earth.
So I'll leave you with this question to really think about. When you act, what standard are you setting? What kind of world are you helping to create with your duty, with your Dharma? It's a question worth asking, because as we've seen today, the salvation of the world really does depend on the answer.